Black British Dynasties in Music, a family affair. In conversation with Matty and Nicky Brown. Yo, what's happening? It's Robert Bruce right here, and in front of me, I have two highly skilled and well-respected, worked with the best of the best and are the best themselves as well. If I start listing names, we're going to be here for hours and hours. So who have I got in front of me?
Matty Brown.
Nicky Brown?
Matty Brown and Nicky Brown. And come on, what do you guys do? Talk to us.
Go on, Dad.
Well, I'm a musician, songwriter, producer. Been doing this since I left school, pretty much. Worked with some really amazing people along the way, and then now just kind of, just enjoying it more than I ever have, really. Wow. To be quite honest with you. It's like really powerful. So that's who I am. I'm kind of picking up a few new skills along the way.
Okay.
I started string arranging, doing arrangements for orchestras, and I've been mixing, which has been amazing. So I've always been doing remixes and stuff, but actually, mixing the technical side. So so it's been an exciting time for me, man. Really exciting.
Oh, yeah. I'm a drummer, musician, producer, musical director. I'm 26. So yeah, it's been a good journey so far. I've been in the industry for about maybe like 6 to 7 years, not too long, but yeah, just kind of like my dad. Yeah, kind of been working since I've left school. So yeah, man, this is where I'm at now.
You mentioned your dad. I'll get you guys to say it on mic. What is your relationship to each other?
Oh, so my dad is my dad. And then I am my dad's son.
He's a firstborn one son.
Firstborn one son. Firstborn out of how many?
3 for me. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
nice. Well, today we're going to take a little trip down memory lane, learn about you guys a little bit more, see what you're up to right now. But before we move into that, today is August 17th. How are you guys feeling today, right now, in this moment?
Actually, really blessed, because it's really funny when we were coming down here. We were talking about all the different things that are happening in the industry, and I think the pandemic obviously knocked a lot of people out, but we're still, I can just say for myself, I'm still here, still working, and I'm really grateful for that. Some really new, different stuff, some avenues that I didn't think I'd go down. The pandemic kind of pushed me to kind of like just look a little further outside and inside, and it's really paid like handsomely. It's been fantastic. Yeah,
Matty, how do you feel today, right now, in this moment?
Man, I feel blessed as well, man. To be honest, I feel really blessed. As I was saying to you before the interview started, I kind of like lost a friend maybe about 2 weeks ago, and he was always kind of really about just like doing what you can while you're here, and that kind of all makes sense while he's kind of gone. So I'm not saying that I'm planning to leave it anytime soon, but I just feel like I'm just just revamping right now, and then when I'm ready to go again, I'm just gonna go harder than ever before, bro. So right now I'm just kind of like chilling with my family, chilling with my niece, and then when it's go time again, I'm really gonna go for it.
So a little bit of realignment for the both of you of recent times.
Yeah. I think everybody though, everybody. Yeah. I think that the challenges of the last couple of years, obviously, for some people have been insurmountable, but I think for some people it's been a blessing. Yeah. And so I would just err on the side of, some of us made lemonade out of lemons, kind of thing, or just made made something good out of a bad situation. So musically, and that's kind of what music is about. Music. Let me say that again. That's what music is about. Music is about documenting all times, not just good times, but all times. And I think that's what gives you the energy to write amazing stuff. That's what gives you the energy to do incredible work. And as long as musicians, we never forget that, I think we'll always like do great stuff, you know.
Matty mentioned you've been in the industry for 6 years. Nicky, I know you've been in here for a little bit longer.
No, please don't say how long. Don't say how long.
Just a little bit longer than that. And I want to sort of take step backs to the younger you. When was music introduced to your life as a fan?
As a fan?
As a fan.
Oh,
when was
man.
it introduced and who was introduced to you?
Well, as a fan of my uncle first.
Okay. And what was your uncle doing?
So my uncle's name is Jimmy.
We got Uncle Jimmy.
Yeah. Montrose Edwards. So he's probably the first person I had like fandom for.
Mm-hmm.
So he used to play the drums. And my dad's group used to rehearse in the basement of my granddad's house. And I don't know if you heard of like the London Community Gospel Choir. So their leader, Basil Mead, his brothers are like my godfathers, right? So I was just around that stuff all the time, just as a kid, like just being freaked out by it, you know, seeing people play and like, you know, writing songs and singing. And
Do you know what age?
Oh man, this is from like the age of like 1 or something.
Oh, okay.
I got memories of going into the basement and stuff and seeing the instruments. And then my dad borrowed my uncle's drum kit and set it up at home. I was being about 5 years old or something. And I just remember I can remember the feeling. It was just like, I just thought I was going to die. You know what I mean? My dad said, you have to put your coat on because we had to go in the cellar. And then when we went down there, the drum kit was set up. And I just remember and they were trying to get me up out of there and I wouldn't come out. And
What area was this?
this was in Forest Gate.
This is Forest Gate.
Yeah, we used to live
Okay.
in Forest Gate, man. And I loved it. And I met a lot of amazing people in that area. A lot of genius people, but there was a couple of turning points. There's an amazing musician guy. He's one of the guys who at first he's one of the first people black who had a black band called Buzz. They got signed to Warner Brothers.
Oh wow.
I was only like 8 or 9 or so, and his name is Tesley Francis. And he came to live in the upstairs room in my parents' house.
Nice.
And he was a friend of one of my friends, a guy called John Francis, who is a bishop of that church, I should say, it's a bishop of the Ruach Church. So music and people from the music business, and then I played in inspirational choir for ages as well, which John was in as well. So like, you know, just music's just been like a constant
In your life, in the
just
family.
a constant in the family. My mum was very instrumental.
Yeah.
Yeah, she kind of enrolled me in the local academy. There was a music academy in East Ham,
Okay.
called the Newham Music Academy, and my teacher was an incredible guy called Professor Colin Waller, and he's just like he's another person I'm a fan of. And yeah, so I think Uncle Jimmy's my first kind of like, you know, my first fan moment.
Yeah.
But I think my biggest, so like, yeah, so I went through like all of the 70s and stuff,
Okay.
listening to all of them bands like T-Rex and, you know, Mud and, you know, Shawaddy Waddy and all of that, you know, like all the kids,
Yeah.
you know, doing all the dances and whatever. And then when I was about 12, a friend of mine called Dave Henriquez played me a Shaka Khan record, and it blew my mind.
Everything changed.
That was it, bro.
Why?
Because I never heard anything like that before. I mean, my grandfather used to buy a lot of records. My dad used to buy a lot of records, and me and my brother used to like. I don't know if you remember them days when black folks used to have the front room.
Yes.
Right,
Yes.
so
yes.
like nobody was allowed in
You
the
don't
front
go
room.
in the front room.
Yeah, it's for like the visitors. Like, you know, your mum had her best stuff in there.
Yeah.
So my dad had a stereo system in the front room. My dad had an incredible record collection. You know, so we were listening to Sly Stone, you know, the Eagles. We were listening to all of this amazing stuff. Brothers Johnson, that was our favorite. Me and my brother. By the way, my brother Jerry Brown, Jerome, is a bad boy drummer and has played for like, what's some of the people he's played for? Like from Girls Aloud to Will Young to Westlife. I mean, just like the list goes on. Jessica Simpson, just like everybody. So we've always had that kind of energy in the family. So we used to listen to all kinds of music, and we were dissecting it in our heads.
Okay.
You know, like, oh man, what? Because you know, back then, this is gonna make me really old. Back then, you used to get an album sleeve.
Okay.
So when you bought an album, there'd be like a sleeve, and it would have the credits on the back, or it'd have the credits inside. You'd have a gatefold, which was like the one you'd open up. It was like a book, and you could see where they recorded, who were the engineers, you know, who played drums.
And you guys were fascinated by that.
We were totally like credit like crazy. So my best friend is a guy called Freddie Thompson again, who's like a top flight musician, MD'd Westlife, plays with Heather Small now, M People, just like loads of people. The list goes on. And we were just crazy about music. And, you know, Earth and Fire, his bigger brother used to buy like Earth and Fire records. We almost didn't want to listen to the record. We just wanted to read like where it was done. Like it'd be like recorded at the Enterprise, and we're like, where the hell is Enterprise? And then we start researching. Yeah, man, you know, the Enterprise is like their own studio, blah, blah, blah. You know, like it was deep. So we were like just such massive like enthusiasts and fans of music generally. And because I was brought up in the East End, obviously, I heard a lot of music that wasn't black music.
Okay.
You know, I heard a lot of punk I loved punk music. Wow. I loved like what the, you know, Madness and the Specials and Ian Jury. I loved that stuff because it was just such good music. And you kind of, those influences kind of stick onto you. Yeah. You know, and you bring that into your career and into what you do. Yeah.
You bring that into your family as well. It seems like there's a rhythm that runs through you guys' blood, because Matty, you as well, was it always drums from the jump?
Yeah, you know, I just really fascinated.
This guy was like wild, man. Wow. It's like we bought him.
When was the first age that you bought me the drum set?
We bought him. We went to Argos and we bought him like one of them little kids. The kid ones, kits, yeah. Like when he must have been about. So the first thing is, he used to kick. So this is a funny story. We took him to some friends of mine, Andy Gangadin, who knows him now. We went to see M People, and Velry went to see Simply Red, and my wife was pregnant at the time with Matthew. Went to see both of those bands, and every time the music would come on, he just started kicking, kicking. And there was one particular song that M People played, and we had him in the bouncer chair, and it was on an advert, and he completely stopped. And we both were like, wow, that's really, like, that's weird kind of thing. But it was just, we kind of had an idea that he was going to be a musician. And so we kind of got him one of these little Argos drum kits. Yeah. Like, I don't know, like 9-10 months. He's just on it.
9-10 months?
He was on it, bruv. He was on it. Wow. And he walked early.
Okay.
So he was just on it. And then it was like, he used to drag it around, you know, drag it in front of the TV. And he used to drag it in a passageway when his mum was watching something. Then he'd drag it in my studio. And he's like, drag it, and he's like always playing and stuff. And we kind of thought, well, I guess he's going to be a drummer. I guess.
What's your early memories? Because obviously those memories are pre you even knowing.
Mad early, you know.
Yeah.
Like I feel like drums is like it's weird. It's like a person in my life.
Wow. You got to tell him the Sugar Babe story.
Oh yeah. So obviously I'm working with Sugar Babes at the moment.
Yeah.
And I just remember maybe like 3-4, and then I think it was Overload. Or Round one of them. And they used to come on, obviously like Top of the Pop CD UK.
Yeah.
And then they used to come on, like, it's just like every time that song comes on, I used to love playing that song.
Wow.
So then now when I actually got the call to work with them, not even that I underestimated it. I was just like, alright, cool, like Sugar Babe's cool, like whatever. It's kind of like certain as actually just another gig that I'm doing. I was actually in the rehearsals. I was like, yo, start getting like all these flashbacks.
Yeah, like I've been here before, but I'm here now.
But I'm actually here, and like Keisha and Mortia and Siobhan are like right in front of me. I had to tell them the story, and I was like, nah, that's mad funny. It's like, stop telling us, you're making me feel old. It's like, it is what it is, isn't it?
Do you ever feel there's a calling on your family in the music space?
Definitely.
With everything that you guys have delivered to the industry.
Yeah, definitely.
Probably, yeah. I think also just the way that it happened, because believe it or not, Matthew didn't want anybody to know that he was part of our family.
Why?
When he was playing, he just didn't want anybody. Excuse me, he didn't want anybody to know. So,
did you just want to do it for yourself? Like you didn't want to get in based off anything, or?
I wanted to do my own thing, because the thing is, it's like, well, when I was younger, obviously my dad and my uncle, they're clearly still in the industry now, but I feel like the industry once upon a time, the industry was smaller, innit? So there was only certain people that do certain things in certain spaces.
Okay.
And my uncle and my dad were one of those. Especially in the gospel circuit. So like growing up, it was kind of it's like, oh yeah, you're like Nicky's son or Jerry's nephew.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So when I actually got into music, it got a bit kind of like intimidating a little bit.
Oh, okay,
but
so intimidating.
Yeah, so but it was kind of a weird one, because it's not like it's like your older brother or your older sister or whatever. It's like your dad and your uncle. So it's just like they're like 3 generations above you. So that really and truly, there's no really like catching up. Not even that it's not like a race. But I kind of just wanted to build my own thing aside from them. I didn't want any like handouts. I didn't want anybody to call me for gigs or he's good because he's connected to them, or do you know what I mean? I just wanted to just be my own guy. But then at the same time, like I've definitely like rid off their name 100%.
Yeah. Ooh, I saw that fly.
Yeah, like 100%, because it's like, it kind of works in my favor a little bit as well. Most of the time.
Yeah, but he was like, people were like coming back to me and going, there's some kid, right? And his name's Matty Brown. Do you know him? Like, because there's not a lot of Browns. And I was like, yeah, I do know him. Actually, I do, yeah. And it was like, and I go home and like say, why you don't want to tell people that like I'm your dad? And he's like, yeah, I don't want to.
What was it like watching that process from your side? Because
the first time I kind of worked out what was going on. So like one day I came home and I heard this music in the house. So I said to my wife, Susan, I said like, who's that? What record is that? Why is it so loud? And she was like, no, that's Matt. So I was like, so basically I got a computer from a friend and given it to Matt, who was about 11 or so. And it had like Logic on it and a few other things. And he started building tracks. And, building tracks, doing stuff. And we had no idea what was going on in that respect. And then then I came here one day. Yeah. And the guy actually who's on the desk today, Tony, said to me, hey mate, your son, we was doing something at the Round Chapel with the kids, the Hackney school kids. Your son was killing the drums, mate. And I was like, what? And then he showed me a picture and you could just see Matt's head like over the... So I said to Matt, what? You didn't... He goes, yeah, the drummer didn't turn up. So my teacher said to the MD, why don't you let my kid play? And then he played the rehearsal. And then the MD didn't bother booking the drummer, just said, you do it. And then they paid him.
Oh, wow.
Done.
Age 11, first check.
Done.
That was actually my first gig still.
That was your first book? That was your first booking?
Yeah.
So that was
Back
it.
in them days, there was no
Sorry.
Yeah, back in them days, there was no like, but there was iPods, but there was no like Dropbox or whatever. So that they gave me like a CD
Of
the
the
stuff to learn,
wow.
and then there was like actually 9. But what's so mad about music here is that if I get a gig now and I get 9 songs, I'd actually be like a bit like, all right, cool, I've got to learn these like properly. When I was like 11 years old, I was like 9 songs is like saying like 9 words. I was like, yeah, like whatever, innit? Like, I'm just gonna learn the 9 songs.
Yeah.
Listen to it once, listen to it twice, and then boom, and like boom,
You're
we're
good.
in. So it's like you're mad fearless as a kid, which is kind of good because like, I feel like this year and the ending of last year, I've kind of got that fearlessness back
again.
Yeah, and just every time I play now, I just go through it. I actually don't really care if I'm in church.
Yeah.
On like playing for you, it doesn't matter. I'm just gonna go hard.
Go through this. It's
Yeah,
almost having that like childlike approach to everything because kids are curious and
Yeah.
they will do anything.
Definitely.
You know.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, my big break was when I was at school as well.
Okay.
So I started playing with DC Lee when I was like 14.
And what instrument?
That was a joke. I was playing keys, and I was really a drummer at the time. But
Yeah.
So basically, for background, yeah, my dad started off as a drummer.
Started off as a drummer
Yeah.
and then learned what next.
Then he started to produce.
Yeah, it's a really funny thing, man.
Yeah.
Because yeah. So, like, I was around some cool people. So there was a really amazing artist, a cool guy called Paul Johnson, who was signed to Sony at the time, and he built a studio in his garage. We didn't know how to use it, and he said, "I got this song, yeah, got this song I got finished." And we went to his house in Croydon. It's a really beautiful house. I was like 14, 13, 14, and then I set it all up, and we finished the track, and he was like, "This is amazing! I can't believe you've done this." He's like, "I'm gonna play it to the record company," and I was like, "Oh wow!" And so I went home with my little cassette of the song, so happy. I played it to all my friends. And I had Paul's voice on it. That was it for me. That I could have like easily have just like slipped into the ether, and I would have been happy.
You'd
That
accomplished,
that was me. It actually became the B-side to his single.
Wow.
And at the time, having a B-side was a big deal, you know? And I remember he gave me 15% of the song. I couldn't believe, I was just like, you know? And so I got this reputation of being a little song finisher.
Okay.
So people would call me and just say, "Yeah, I heard that you're really good at sorting out ideas.
Let's do this."
So I kind of became the little young song finisher. So I started working with, what happened first was, I started working with D, and then I started working with Paul Weller a bit. And then I was doing a show called People Get Ready.
Okay.
And I was like,
You have to explain. People get ready though.
People Get Ready was like one of the first black music shows on television, period.
Whoa.
When television was 4 channels. Right?
What channel, what time? What
So
Channel 4, right?
it was Channel 4 we first started on. I think I was 16. Right? I never came into the show as a drummer. I came into the show as a co-MD. How? I don't know.
Age 16, did you say?
16, 17. Co-MD. Right? I'm like, I know about music, right? I just know how it should feel. That's how. So I'm working with all of these amazing musicians who works with Phil Collins, works with all these big acts, the horn section, guys like Dave Arch, who's like the MD now of Strictly, Pete, I can't remember his second name, but who works with Annie Lennox, all of these major guys.
Yeah.
And I'm like a little little black youth on kit. And they're like, "Yeah, man, go for it, man." They're really supportive. And I always knew what it should sound like. So that was my thing. I push. And then I basically got adopted by this amazing guy called Pete Toms, who was part of the Phantom Horns. He was like the horn section on Live Aid.
Okay.
You know, here and in the States. These guys are huge. And he never discriminated at all. He just was like, cool.
If you're good.
This little you, I have to co-MD with him. I mean, I wouldn't have co-MD'd with a 16-year-old kid. I'd have been like, what? Is that how that?
Yeah.
But he was like, no, come. We worked at his house, introduced me to his family. You know, it was like a whole thing.
Yeah.
So that kind of nurturing was like powerful, you know? So when you're young, you need those kind of moments around you. I mean,
to steer you in
steer you and get you in the right. So that's where that's where it really started for me. And then my real break into the industry after working with DC Lee. And then I had these two mentors who were really instrumental. There was a British soul band called Central Line. Don't know if you ever heard them, Walking on Sunshine. You ever heard that tune? So Linton Beckles and Lipson were in that band, and they lived in Forest Gate.
Lovely.
And they heard about me, found me, got hold of me through my friend Tony Williams, and they basically just spent time nurturing me. So I'm like this little black kid in Forest Gate with a memory Moog, which is like costs like £10,000 underneath my bed. They're like, take that and learn how to program it. And I'm like, what? They're like, all this gear. They was like turning up at my house with gear and learn how to program that, learn how to do this. And then they'd call me up and go, oh, I got a session, but I don't want to do it. You're going to do it. And we'll pay you and we'll take a bit of money out for ourselves and that. And that, so like, you're like 15 and somebody's paying you 350 quid to do a session. I'm like,
350 must have been.
That was like a
Yeah.
fortune.
At that time as well.
That was a fortune.
What did you do with the money?
Well, I'm a musician, innit? So I just went and invested in equipment.
Me and
So
my
I
dad were
always had.
laughing. I was laughing at my dad this morning. I just said that he's just a gear freak. He just buys gear. Like I'm trying to use my money to property now, and he's just like, yeah, allow that.
Yeah. This new thing's
That's
dropped. Yeah.
important. He needs to sort himself out. But you know, I just loved all of that stuff, man. You know, I remember going to Paul Weller's place. He used to have a studio called Solid Bond, and it was just amazing. He was one of the first guys with an SSL. You know, it's just like, it's a real studio. And for me, it was just being there was enough. You know, this was like me walking into them album covers. You know, it
All those
literally
places
was
where
that
you
moment.
looked at where it was recorded, who's done this.
Yes. So, like, you can imagine being a young kid and then seeing your name on a Style Council record. That was me going. I'll go in a record store and I open the thing and I'll be like, oh my God. You know what I mean? I'm freaking out, right?
Yeah.
So, so anyway, back to this People Get Ready thing. It was a company called TVS. They made, remember shows like Catchphrase and Bullseye, all that stuff. Big shows, you know. Fern Britton was one of their, she used to come in the studio to watch us.
Oh, wow.
Right, crazy. When she was younger, she was amazing as well. And we were doing this show. We'd done this show for like almost 8-9 years. It was amazing. And like, it was a Sunday show, so it was a Christian show, but we were basically doing music like they were doing on
In the mainstream.
Yeah, on the Tube or anything else. In fact, the Tube, Saturday morning TV were our references.
Got you.
And when we started to beat songs of praise, that's when we knew we were onto something.
Wow.
We're at that point. And the only reason why it really stopped was because TVS lost their franchise. And that's when the show stopped. But we've been talking to the BFI recently about finding all the archives and trying to kind of get the archives back out.
Yeah.
It's owned by Buena Vista, which is, I think, Disney. And we've been talking to different people about what we can do to kind of like, you know, preserve the legacy of the show.
Yeah. 'Cause like, as you mentioned, music documents a time and it speaks to time in a way that the history books can't. And so does culture and art. So it's important to have these things.
Well, do you know what's quite interesting is that the same thing happened with Matt, because Shaka, who I respect 100%, came to see me when Matt was like, what, 15 or something? 15, 16?
I don't know, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, and he was like, "Oh, Mr. Brown, would you let Matt come out and play some shows with me?
Wow.
I promise, I'll make sure that it'll be good. There'll be no funny business."
And when was this?
Is that your first kind of major stuff, innit?
Yeah, basically, yeah. Like 2013, so I would have been
17, 16?
Yeah, 16, yeah.
But you were like playing huge shows, bro.
So yeah, what are some of the shows like when you first came outside?
So the first show I used, the first show I trying to get rid of the fly.
Yeah, I'm trying to get the aircon.
Oh.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, so firstly, the first kind of gigs I done was kind of like in 2000. You remember Hackney Weekend?
Yeah.
Yeah, Hackney Weekend. There was like, obviously BBC are great because they do like the BBC introducing stuff.
Yeah.
So I was working with a guy called Exploder, which his name is actually Sam. He's died now. He lost his life in Ghana, I think, 2 years ago. But he was like, he owned like this bakery. But yeah, rest in peace to him. Kind of gave me a chance. He was like, we did like Hackney Weekend. Mobos did like a Mobos unsigned tour sort of thing, and I was like doing a couple shows with him, and that was just like with like just drums, keys, and track. So that's where I kind of like learned to do shows with like track and stuff. Mm-hmm. Then I won a competition called Young Drum of the Year.
Yes, this is still 2013.
2013, yeah. 2013, and then after I won that, kind of people started kind of like taking me seriously. Like, oh, okay, cool. My name started to kind of like buzz around the live industry. Then my boy, who literally just died a couple of weeks ago, Joey Grant, actually plugged me with Shaka because they were working with Shaka and they couldn't do this show at Glastonbury. Mm-hmm. That was in 2013, and then they plugged me, and then obviously Shaka kind of like asked my dad like, "Yo, can you do these shows with me?" Whatever. I kind of did that. And then, yeah, that was kind of like my first thing, which is mad. Like 2013, fast forward to 6 years later, 2019.
Who was that reggae guy you were playing with?
Oh, Stylo G, yeah, kind
Stylo
of
G
as well. Yeah.
Kinda, so like around that era, I was kind of like working with like Stylo G, Shaka,
and what's her name?
Sinead Harnett,
and what's my girl?
Lion Babe, Vanessa Williams' daughter.
Yeah, but what's my girl? The rapper girl. Man.
Oh, Lady Leisha.
Nah.
Little Sims, yeah.
Little Sims, bro.
Yeah,
because Sims, for me, that was a big moment as well.
Okay.
Because it was really funny. I used to watch the bands and I used to say to Matt, that's going to be a big one. So I'm a massive fan of Shaka. But I'm also like, the minute I saw Sims, I was like,
yes, I went college with Simbi, innit?
Okay.
Like, that's my brethren. Like, so yeah. So like literally she was like, "Yo, do you wanna be in my band?" So I was like, yeah, man. Then she just started to kinda like break and do stuff like Red Bull sessions.
What songs at them times did she have out?
They weren't big like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like she was kinda like,
it was simmering.
I feel like Sims is kinda like J. Cole and Kendrick. So like when they first came out, they weren't really like bangers per se, but the woke people knew. About those tunes. Do you know what I mean? So like we do big stuff, man. Like we're doing like Mobile Awards, like featuring Candy Staten. Like we didn't know what we was actually doing at the time.
That's funny because that's exactly what was happening.
Yeah.
When I was a youth.
Yeah. I'm
doing these shows. I'm turning up to these huge studios or wherever, filming. I just think this is what normal people do.
Yeah.
I'm bricking it, don't get me wrong. But I think this is what happens.
Yeah.
And my friends are like going, bruv, this is not normal. And I'm saying to them, well, what's meant to happen?
The only thing with us, right, is that we didn't know what we were doing, and it actually sounded like we didn't know what we were doing.
Oh, okay.
No, you guys, no, it never sounded like that.
When I listen back now, like let's say
Yeah,
even
but-
like
But you're listening back from these ears now.
No, but even then, like we was like, this is what happened when we did Mobos. Yeah, this is a funny story. So we're in now as a musical director.
Yeah.
When you do these TV shows in the UK, if you have a live band, it's meant to be pre-recorded.
Mm-hmm.
So it's meant to be pre-recorded from a couple weeks before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what year Mobos is this?
2014.
2000. All right.
2014. Yeah, Mobos. Wembley Arena. Yeah. Yeah. So we record actually 2 days before. Normally, you're meant to be getting a briefing about how long the performance is.
Yeah.
We've exaggerated the whole arrangement to like 4 minutes 30. They've come back and like, yeah,
Too long.
this is meant to be 2 minutes 30. So like, you're already 2 minutes. So we've had this big intro, this big outro. Gone home, my dad's home. We're like, yeah, Dad, give us like, you know, man, give us some juice on this bit here. We've taken it away. We've gone to the studio. We've spent 12 hours in the studio, pissed off the engineer. We've left the engineer. The engineer has not given us no files. And but the thing is, then he's like giving us these like Pro Tools session, and none of us know how to use. None of us know how to use Pro Tools. So all we was left with was a stereo bounce.
Is it?
A stereo bounce.
Going
of
to
the
Wembley
session.
Arena.
And that's what we ran with.
Wow.
So we was chopping the stereo bounce. Yeah.
Oh my
And then when we got there, they had the drums mic'd up. But you're meant to have like dummy drums. But I've brought my real drums.
Okay.
And they've put it on, and now it's recording the dummy drums on top of, like, it was a mess. But you really have to do those things to kind of teach you how to.
Yeah.
And then as I was saying, like 2013 did Glastonbury with Shaka on the smaller stage of Glastonbury, BBC introducing, and then fast forward to 6 years, which really is not really a long time. Like God kind of like fast tracked me, and then man, the headline Glastonbury is
Stormzy.
Yeah,
we're gonna get there.
It's crazy. Yeah, so,
We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there.
yeah, man. Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. Nicky, have you had any, like, what is, like, Matty's just told that story. What is the one story of yours where it was a sticky situation, if you can remember?
Oh man, loads of them, man. Up to a couple of weeks ago. Check it. No, loads of them. Loads of them.
What's the first one that comes to mind, though?
A very sticky one.
Oh God! Look. Do you know what? Because of me wanting to stay in the industry, I think sometimes you forget. You try to force them out. Force them out.
They
of your
want to
mind.
bring them back up again.
Let me think. I've been doing TV, and the track stopped halfway through the thing or something.
Through the performance.
Yeah.
Live TV or pre-recorded TV?
Pre-record, sometimes
Okay.
live. I mean, all sorts of stuff. But the thing is, I used to MD Emily Sande. She's wicked, man. She's brilliant.
She was the first ever person I saw live.
Yeah.
Because I started going to live shows a little bit late. I wonder if you even worked it. It was an iTunes festival.
Nah. I know one you're talking about.
You know which one I'm
talking
talking?
like 2013.
Yeah, 14 Roundhouse.
Is that with Gavin and them lot?
Yeah, that would have been Gavin, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So that's a mad thing as well, because all of them youths there, they're all like a bit older than Matt, but they were like, their parents were like my mentors.
Your friend, okay.
So it's crazy, you know. So there's been like this incredible succession of great musicians that especially come out of my church, the church that I've gone to, just like layers and layers of them. They're all like gone on to do like mad stuff. Gavin Powell, Aaron Powell, Mike Patrick, I was saying Freddie. The list just goes on. And funny enough, it's the same church in the UK as the church that the Clark sisters go to in America. So that was one of my first gigs as well. When the Clark sisters came over,
You know about Clark Sisters, bro, innit?
they never had a band. So me and my best mate Freddie used to play for the
Wow.
Clark sisters. We've done
Wow.
it 3 years running. And then the Winans were part of that church, and they came over, and we played for them about 3-4 years running. Yeah, they used to be, yeah. And we played for them like 2-3 years running. So, like, but at the time, you're just thinking,
It is what it is.
it is what it. I used to play for Andre Crouch.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the UK. But again, you just think,
This is normal.
you just think,
Ish.
well, this is what you know, this is happening this week,
Yeah.
and you're thinking about next week. You're not even thinking, well, oh, this is an amazing thing.
Yeah. Or even this
Even,
is
not
the
that you're
career.
not grateful or that you're not, you are aware, but I think you're in that point where you're just thinking, well, man, this is just, wow, I get to do this cool stuff.
When do you, for the both of you, when do you accept who you are? Like, rah, this is actually me. Like, this is actually providing or is going to sustain moving forward.
Every moment of my life, bro.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but to
Every
be,
single
you know
moment
what,
of my
to
life.
be honest, it is difficult at times because like I feel like I only read. It's mad funny, yeah, because it's like I only really the day that this happened, where I actually realized like, yo, this is my life and this is lit and I'm really enjoying it. It was in 2020 January.
So recently, like, what happened?
I was doing the Brits with Storms. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And
That
we
was
done
nuts.
we done band rehearsals, and the band rehearsals finished, and we did like the melody. We done the medley with like Burner, and I was like, "Yo, this sounds cold, and everyone's gonna hear this in real time. Like, I can't wait." Yeah, and then we went to production rehearsals, and I remember walking up to my kit in production rehearsals, and I was like, "Yo, this is lit," because I actually really love the drums, innit?
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually really love the drums and just music. And I was like, man really doesn't have to, I don't actually have to do anything else. And I remember like being a kid going to my uncle's rehearsals, when he was doing like Miss Dynamite, Jamelia, like all of these other Girls Aloud when they were in their peak, like being like really amazed. And at that moment I realized, I was like, yo, I'm actually
This
doing
is
the
me
same
now.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
If not even bigger.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
like-
much bigger.
Yeah, I was like, if I'm actually doing the same thing, and I'm at the time I was like 23, with my boys. Do you know what I mean? I was like, yo, this is live, and Storms is like my boy as well.
Yeah.
And now it's like literally my boy. Like, so he inspires me, just like seeing him work. So, and like the girls, the BVs, like we're all brethrens as well. The dancers,
Everyone
I'm
knows
like, this is
everyone.
lit. Like, this is like High School Musical. So like, I'm going to rehearsals and
It's funny you should say that, you know.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a really important component of the whole thing.
Yeah.
'Cause that's
Community.
how
How
I-
important is your community?
Yeah, because that's how I felt up to now, and I'm an older gentleman. No, but that's how I feel.
yeah.
Because along the journey, there've been key people, like the guy I was telling you about, Pete Toms. I was talking to him last week because we just got a cover. I just got a cover on an Apple playlist.
Whoa.
So we were working out all the publishing stuff, right? And I'm just thinking, I've known this guy for the best part of my life. And he was like, no, do this, do that. Don't worry about that. Make sure, just tell them, send me a letter. I'm just thinking, who are you, how often are you able to call the same people for over 20, 30 years?
It's a blessing.
It's it's a total blessing. And then I remember there was a point where he was working at the Musicians Union. He was actually working there, and I was having some problems, and he just was like, "Yeah, don't worry about it. I'll get sorted out." And I was like, "Yeah, he's not." And next minute, boom, done. And I was like, "Why?" You know what I mean? And it's such an amazing thing to have those moments in your life where you feel like you're, you know what I mean? And so, I mean, I just like watching them guys doing
Doing their thing.
the Brits, bruv. My heart was in my mouth. I was like, don't let him drop his drumstick.
Never one bit, bro.
Wasn't ever. You was
Nah,
prepared.
bro. Nah, yeah. And that's the thing, I don't know why, man. It's just like,
You're nervous before you go on. You must be.
nah. I promise you, I would literally say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would literally say.
Maybe
So
you knew.
But
like,
I do feel that them cats though, these guys, these lot are him, Isaiah, Levi, a few of them guys, Dave Davis, Matt, all of them. They're like a different breed.
I was gonna actually ask. It's maybe harder for you, Matty, to answer. But what are the differences you see from your time to your time?
I feel like my dad and his mates are actually way more talented than us anyway. I've just always I've always thought that. I think you know, like when everyone's kind of like like food back in the day was a bit more cleaner because they didn't use to spray stuff and I kind of feel like that's the same thing with music. I feel like music then was less saturated. Like it was kind of like organic. The way they made things, it was very analog. Now things are very digital.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? And very like artificial. So it's like I don't have to work as hard. Well, it's different.
It's a different way.
It's not even that I have to work as hard. It's just like back in the day, they wouldn't play to like a drum machine, or they wouldn't play to like extra like programming. So like now the keyboardist actually doesn't really need to play that much.
Interestingly,
but back in the day,
we were trying it.
Yeah, but
you were trying to have the extra bits.
Because we were listening to, especially what people like Stevie Wonder, the Americans and stuff were doing. We didn't have one keyboard player; we had 3 keyboard players.
But now, them 3 keyboard players could be one track, and you got one
player, basically.
Got you.
So now, what I'm basically trying to say is that if we had to do them,
it'd be harder than
I would personally think I would struggle. But then again, if they possibly would have have to do us, I feel like they would struggle as well. But after a while, they'll get it.
Okay.
No,
yeah,
you know what I mean? No. Let me say something to you, right?
What do you think?
The other thing that I want to kind of like add to this part of the conversation is that it's a bit like what you're doing now, right? I remember doing the Capital Music Festival with LCGC. We done it like 4 years in a row or something, right? There was one black engineer, a guy called Paul Pink.
Wow.
Right? I don't know if he still works at Capital, but he literally was a legend. He was like one black guy. If you do anything for Capital now, like, you know, the stadium gig or whatever, you'll see loads of black people. Back then, the only one. Because being a technician was a big deal, much less being a black technician. It wasn't the case that somebody else couldn't have done it. It's just that the opportunity just wasn't there to do it. Do you get what I'm saying? So, as from my point of view, there were better musicians than me. There always have been. There always will be. But I was the one who got the chance. The difference being is that when I got the chance, I was like, you ain't getting a chance to get this out of my hand.
Yeah.
I got this. Right? Because I kind of felt like if I didn't grab it, it could quite easily just be taken away. Some of the people who are my absolute like idols, guys that I loved, you know, it took them years to get to where I got to in minutes. Because they just weren't at the right place at the right time. It wasn't that they couldn't do the job, but it was just the opportunities. And obviously, I'm a 14-year-old. I'm not thinking like a 25-year-old.
Yeah.
Like, you know, them man are thinking about playing in pubs and things. I'm like, bro, I ain't playing in no pub. I want to play at the Hammersmith Odeon, bro. Want to play at the Eventim, you know what I mean? Well, it weren't Eventim then, but you get what I'm saying? So it's a different... I think every generation kind of generates a different mindset. And
because times change. Yeah.
Times change.
Yeah,
so
changes,
I'm so blessed to be able to see. I kind of feel like maybe I've contributed maybe 0.000001%
to what's going on
of
now.
What has contributed to there being a One Extra, there being, you know, BBC One Extra, there being like
a thriving black music scene.
I'm just a tiny little speck of sand, but that with all of the others, right? I mean, Matt, you should tell him the story about Trevor Nelson when you were doing the Grime Week.
Yeah, I've done loads of BBC Live Lounges.
Yeah.
And obviously Trevor Nelson kind of knows like my uncle. And then like we finished doing a song or whatever, and I think it was good. I can't remember what artist it was. And then after I saw him after, and it was just like, oh man, like I always know when it's you people. You know what I mean? It always sounds a particular way.
Really?
Yeah, which is like, oh raw. Then I told my dad, was like, yeah man, I know.
So I goes,
like,
who said that? And he goes, some guy called Trevor. So I'm like, who the hell is Trevor?
Yeah.
So he's like, Trevor, innit? He's like, some guy called Trevor. So every time I was saying to him, I went to Maida Vale today. I was doing like sessions with Block Party and stuff like that. We're doing some live stuff with Block Party. I've done some arrangements for their album. And he said, oh, was Trevor there? And I was like, Trevor? So I thought he was talking about an engineer. So I said, describe Trevor to me. And he goes, oh, he's like small black guy with a bald head. So I'm like going, that's Trevor, that's Sir Trevor Nelson. And so it was really funny. I played with Emily at Trevor Nelson's gig at the Albert Hall. You know, he has that.
Yes.
Yeah. So I went to the rehearsals because we were on tour at the time. And I think Ems was doing something else. So I went to the rehearsals and just rehearsed with the orchestra. Rehearsed with the orchestra, and I got talking to him, and he was like, yeah. And then he realised that Matt was the connection. And it was just crazy. It's like, I was like, you've been really instrumental in making a part of this happen. He's had no clue, like totally oblivious. Like,
that's so amazing.
And you think to yourself, you see, this is what when we do the right thing, or when good things happen, I should say, maybe that's a better way of saying it. Amazing, you literally change people's lives, you know, and yeah, we were talking about it, and he was really like, man, I'm so glad. Wow, I can't believe that. It's so cool.
Just taken aback.
Yeah, and he was a bit like, wow. So, and just the impact, because he actually asked for them to come back.
Oh, it's for who was in the band at the time? He asked for the whole band to come back.
Yeah,
because that's where you first worked with Stormzy, right?
So the first time I ever done anything with BBC actually was with Little Sims.
Okay.
And then I done a bunch of stuff with Lime Babe, and then Wretch 32. So I worked with Wretch.
Yeah.
In like 2013, 14. And I just entered. And then I got called to MD like a Grime Week, MC Grime Week. Is it? Yeah, Grime Month. Yeah. At BBC Grime Month. And then I think like some of the guys at BBC at the time were like, yo, do you know what? These guys are a solid unit. So, you know, whenever there's like a BBC thing, you should just call them guys to like come back. And that's kind of like where I built up my name with my boys, Jolla, who is now the co-MD and arranger programmer for Burna Boy. Lovely. So he's the reason why Burna Boy sounds good. Like, yeah, just putting that out there. That is my
Emmanuel's doing a good job too, man.
Oh no, of course. But obviously, I didn't start out with Emmanuel. Yeah. But that's my guy. Jolla, my boy Jeffrey, my right hand Isaiah, my boy Levi, and Matt. Those guys were like key in me sounding the way I do musical direction. And then my friend Nisi, like she gave me like my first kind of opportunity as an MD on a public scale. So like I MD'd on those sessions, J Huss, Lean and Bop,
nice,
Newham Generals, Bugsy Malone, Lady Lax. Who else was there back then, man? Saf One. Nice. All of those guys from what's his name, man? From Hackney, bro. Short guy. And he's a general, bro.
JM?
Nah. I forgot. And I think Stormzy, I think he wrote Shut Up about him. Because he was saying that he was a backup dancer when he came.
J Spades.
Yeah.
J Spades. Yeah.
All of those, basically all of those guys.
All of that gen, yeah.
All of that gen. And then
It was the first time though that we had heard live music on top of that music.
Okay.
There wasn't a lot of
nah. I have to give it to my guys before me, man.
Who?
It, like again, I keep on bringing him up, man. God rest his soul. Is my boy that literally just died. Them man were the first ever man to play like grime live, and they're the best to ever do it. Adrian Moore, Jesse Grant, Joey Grant.
right, stand corrected.
Yeah.
'Cause they're my youths as well.
Drew Hayes, Curtis Cumberbatch, like they are the best. They did like a live BBC live lounge with Deneo in 2009 or 8, and it's cold. They done gigs in like 2011 live lounge. Yeah, they are the goats. That's who we learnt from.
Got you.
Like on that grime thing, and that's when we started to do our own thing, and that's when I kind of like got the call to start MD and Stormzy back then. So like we did we didn't do Shut Up. We did Big for Your Boots live lounge in 2017. And then we did a live lounge special with Jay Haas and Wretch and Stormzy and everyone.
I'm gonna go back and listen to all of these.
Yeah, man, it's cool. And then obviously they moved on, musical direction guy, to another musical director who's amazing, and called us back to work with Storms, a guy called Kojo Samuels. And then that's when we did like Glassdoor and all that other stuff. And then now I'm blessed to musical direct Stormzy's gigs now as well. So
we've learned so much in this short space of time. I feel like I need to come back for a part 2. But just to round off what we spoke about today,
man.
What's the lesson you've learned from each other through going through your own careers? So Nicky, what have you learned from Matty and maybe his crew and his boys, and what have you learned from your dad and your uncle? If you can sum it up.
Well, I'll start first because I feel like I've learned more. Do you know what I mean? So again, like I was saying to you before this conversation, my dad is kind of being a little bit humble at the moment, but he kind of is in general. But he wears a lot of hats in it, and I feel like he's the first to kind of do things from where we're from. So like he was saying a story about, you know, him like reading the comments on Earth and on Fire and all that stuff. He actually is a writer and producer on Earth and on Fire's like albums. Like he done an album, I don't know how long ago it was, but he lived in LA.
The Millennium album.
In the Millennium album, he lived in LA for a while and he worked with them. So kind of like growing up and finding out these little pieces of information, kind of inspires me to like, not even that it's humbling. So it's kind of like, oh yeah, you're not the first to do this. Do you know what I mean? Which is dope. I'm not saying that I want to be the first, but it's so dope to know that I'm not the first to do it, and there's more that you can kind of do. Do you know what I mean? So there's that stuff. He also is like a minister of music.
As well, one of the first kind of employed.
Yeah, like minister of music
wow.
in the church, like I guess like over here
in
and
the UK,
he done like he killed it, man. So it's like done loads of gospel albums, vocal arrangements, and da 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 da. So it's kind of made me think, alright, cool. Man can't just play drums in it.
Yeah,
so that's why I started to actually like musical direct. So I started to that's why I started to produce, started to arrange, started to do all of these different things like vocal range and all of that stuff. So and then watching him from afar and just kind of like close up, kind of like showed me that what he's achieved is possible. Because sometimes when you don't kind of know someone that achieves what you want to,
it's far away.
It feels like really far away. So kind of like being close to him is kind of like really inspiring and kind of like pushes me. And everyone around me, like all my boys, like we just like talk about some of my dad's achievements and cool, we could do this.
Let's get it.
I mean, let's get it in, man. So that's kind of how my relationship with him is music wise. Do you know what I mean? Nice. So man. Yeah.
And Nicky, what have you learned from your son?
Do you know what? It's been absolutely incredible watching him. I can say safely, right, I can say before you and God, I've not made one call. I've not asked anybody to do me a favor. The biggest favor I've asked is of my friends who are other drummers, especially when he was younger, when he won the competition. I said to Andy Gangadin, I said to what's the guy I used to play for Donovan. I said to Donovan, I said to what's the guy that you used to play for? Plan B.
Oh yeah.
So what's the guy who used to play for Plan B before?
Cassell.
Cassell. So to a few of those guys, I know what the drumming community can be like. Just keep an eye on him. Just look after him for me. And they all said, yeah, man, don't worry. We got him. That's the only calls I've ever made. The rest of it is him, bro. He's done it all. And we've just been sitting there, me and Susan, just going, wow, flipping hell. Just like, and for me, that's been the best thing. That's, if I've learned anything from that, it's that, boy, if you really want to do something, you don't need nobody to help. You know what I mean? And that's how I feel. People say, oh, you should do this. And I was like, nah, you don't need it. You don't need it. Just let him do it. We've had some incredible moments recently, like he's got some manufacturing contracts, like with the manufacturers. And one of the manufacturers I was signed to when I was younger. And they came back to him and were like, nah, dude, you need to sign with us. And then he was like, nah. And they were like, well, even your dad's still signed with us. Kind of thing, which I'm not playing drums anymore. But what I'm trying to say is that you just feel like, wow, as a parent, you kind of feel like they're completing your circle.
Nice.
Do you know what I mean? And so...
Yeah, that's a sick way of putting it.
So for me, I mean, I know it is like that for Jerry as well.
Yeah, my uncle.
We feel really kind of like, we feel blessed that we can watch this and that this is going on. And it's not like, you know, it's not just ordinary. It's amazing. It's huge. I mean, I was out with Emily playing a show in Scotland with an orchestra the same night they were playing at Glastonbury.
Wow.
And I remember coming off stage. We come off stage and it's 10 o'clock and they're just about to go on. And we're all huddling around these phones. And Emily's going, flipping hell, I can't believe. Is that, oh my God, is that Matt? Oh my God. And then Priscilla's there. They're all there and everybody's in the band and it's like, this is crazy. And we're just all going, what? Do you know what I mean? And for me, and my heart's in my mouth, I'm like, please don't let the stage fall down. Like,
you know, everything that could possibly go wrong, and you don't want it to happen.
And I literally don't breathe for, 50 minutes, 55 minutes. And afterwards, I'm just like, the tour manager just looks at me and goes, history. Kumar just looks at me and he goes, history.
Whoa.
Michael Richardson just goes to me, he just starts swearing. It's like loads of swear words. He goes, that's it. It's done, mate. It's done. And then the news comes on straight after the gig. And they're like, tonight, Stormzy made history playing. And I was just like,
there you go.
I thought to myself, well, this is how I felt. I felt like Freddie and Jerry and loads of others, look what we done. Right? And it weren't just me looking at him, but it was me looking at Stormzy, looking at Levi, looking at
everything we see there.
Looking at Matt, looking at Isaiah, all of them and going, look at what we done. I called Steve up, who's the other boy's dad, and I was like, bro. And he was like, yeah, man. Mad. Because you just, when you climb in these mountains, you've been climbing these mountains for years. You've been trying to set things up.
Pushing through the doors.
Yeah, my thing has never been like to just do this for me. Somebody's got to come after me. So I've got to do it in a way that makes it for everybody to follow.
Yeah.
I don't know if he has, But I'm hoping he hasn't had anybody going, your dad was a flipping pain in the, do you know what I mean? And so you got to behave, you know, you got to do the right thing. You got to have a professional manner so that people will respect the legacy.
Yeah, and do you know what? Like, in just aiding and closing what my dad said, like, no one has ever come up to me and said your dad was like a bull ache. But what he's actually done is actually helped me, because man, am I like, yo, let me help you, man, because your dad really helped me.
Got you.
When I was younger, and yeah, that I was a nobody, and your dad saw something in me, and so I'm doing the same. So I've had a lot of favors returned, and some people are kind of like at the beginning of my career, like, yeah, he only got this because of his dad and his uncle or whatever. And my response is, yeah, maybe that is true.
I'm gonna run with it.
And that's just because they were really nice people, and they're really nice people, and I'm just kind of like reaping the benefits of them being nice, and that's why I'm just kind of, I hope I'm a nice guy, you know. I try and be nice as well, just because you just never know, man. I might have a boy one day myself, and
of course
he wants to do the same thing, and people are nice to him because I was nice to them.
I got you. I got you guys.
Well, you know what? Let me just say this again. I feel so blessed to be around now, like watching 0207, watching you, watching them mans on YouTube, watching the cats presenting on TV. I was watching the Commonwealth Games the other day.
Yeah.
4 out of 5 presenters were black. Bruv, that's amazing.
Yeah.
You don't understand, bro. I grew up my whole life. When black people were on TV, we used to phone people to say, my mom said, phone your auntie and tell them there's some black people are telling you. Do you know what I mean? So we're proud, you know, we're proud that we were, like I was saying, you know, 0.0000001 part of that story, you know, that we contributed to that story. And so, but it's great when the story doesn't stop with you, but it's great when the legacy continues. Do you know what I mean? And I hope that somewhere along the line, you know, he'll somehow, I don't know how it will happen, but you know, that there'll be some continuation of, you know, even if it's a couple of generations from here, you know, people can go, oh, yeah, his granddad was this and his great granddad was that and blah, 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 blah. I mean, my niece is going to be an awesome actress.
Nice.
And I know she's going to do crazy stuff. So you kind of just like, we're just enjoying these moments.
Yeah.
But at the same time, don't get it twisted, brother. I'm not sleeping.
Yeah, we working. We working hard.
We out here grinding, bro.
Yeah, and I just want to say for the record, like, for our family in music, like, there's a lot of stuff that has been done, but like, the best is definitely
yet to come. My brother, I spoke to my brother today, and he's like, he's back out doing, he's doing Tina, you know, the
show.
So he's taken like a big long run for the next 5 or 6 weeks. He's gonna be on stage like 4 or 5 nights a week.
Whoa.
And it's it's just interesting that every time we go in a door, it's always like an amazing door.
Yeah.
You know? And I just love that. I just want that to continue. I really, like, say, you know, I want to do the Les Dawson, Tommy Cooper thing. I just want to die doing it.
Okay.
You know, I don't want to be like, oh, that's Nicky. He used to be.
Yeah,
nah, man.
Yeah, you want to keep going.
Rule me out in the wheelchair, bro. Rule me out there. I'll be like, hey, guys, it's great to see you. No, really, honest to God, I'm telling you. And people are very sympathetic to old people, so it will work out. I get paid a lot of money for not being very good. It will be amazing.
Yeah.
So let's do it, man. I'm all about it.
Wicked. Just to close, thank you very much, first and foremost, for everything that you shared today. Can I get a my name is and I am from the both of you?
My name is Nicky Brown, and I am a musician, producer, musical director, songwriter, and I just love doing it.
Yo, it's Matty Brown, and I am a drummer, musician, producer, musical director, and yeah, I'm really happy to be here.